There's nobody in the world that wants progressive policy to be set in place more than I do. But this primary to me is not about policy. It's about beating Trump. Period. That's it. End of story.
So Alyssa Milano, actress and activist, she helped popularize the Me Too movement back in 2017 with her tweet about her sexual assault story and asking other women to tweet out their sexual assault stories or just to tweet out Me Too. And she ended up going on MSNBC to talk about Joe Biden and some of his past indiscretions involving Anita Hill and the recent allegations about him being too handsy. And she ended up talking about why she supports Joe Biden and why other Democrats, even if you want progressive policy passed, should support Joe Biden going into 2020. And if you are on the left, this explanation will make your head hurt. So here's Alyssa Milano, and then I'll be back for more.
And still, there are many progressives, or some progressives, who say this is not enough. Is that a mistake? Are they not focused on the overall mission for all Democrats, which is to defeat Donald Trump? Earlier today, Michael Steele said Democrats have a choice. You want to be woke or you want to win. Do you agree with him?
I think it's a great point. I think, look, there's nobody in the world that wants progressive policy to be set in place more than I do. But this primary to me is not about policy. It's about beating Trump. Period. That's it. End of story. We need to nominate someone that is going to beat Trump. And bring honesty and integrity and dignity and truth back to the United States of America. Empathy, compassion, all these things that I want to teach my children growing up in this great country. We need someone that's going to represent that to the best of their ability and fight Trump. And you know, it's not about who's going to make the best president. It's really about who's going to beat this man, this horrible, horrible president.
So that is arguably the worst reason to be supporting Joe Biden going into the 2020 primary. Because basically all the underlying argument for supporting Joe Biden just because he could be the best candidate to beat Trump would then be based on polling data, which all we have right now is early polling data, which basically goes off of name recognition alone. So obviously Bernie Sanders and Joe Biden are the two leading candidates. They're the two leaders in also name recognition. So I don't think there's any any arguing the fact that Joe Biden has a lot of his support in terms of the polling data due to people knowing who he is because he was the vice president of the United States. So Alyssa Milano is basically like, you know what? And this is the same argument, by the way, that you used to hear from the establishment and mainstream media all the time when they were telling you to just fall in line for Hillary Clinton. Hey, Hillary Clinton, she's the best candidate to beat, to just win this entire thing. She's going to be the best candidate to beat Donald Trump. So let's get Hillary Clinton in there, and it will be smooth sailing. We'll easily have Hillary Clinton as president, and it's good to go. We just got to make sure that we beat the Republicans, though, and beat Donald Trump, and make sure that we protect Obamacare, and all of those things that we heard back then. And now here we go again, only maybe even on a shallower level, because now you have other candidates that clearly could beat Donald Trump, mainly Bernie Sanders, and then you have Joe Biden, who has a ton of popularity due to his name recognition. And Alyssa Milano is like, well, you know what? He's the most popular candidate right now. So let's just kind of throw our support behind him because it's all about beating Donald Trump. It's not about necessarily getting progressive policy passed. And she says, nobody cares about passing progressive policy more than I do. And I would beg to differ with Alyssa Milano on that. Because if you're voting for Joe Biden, there are people that want to see progressive policy pass more than you. I got news for you. I don't know how you're going to come out of that saying you want progressive policy more than anybody else if you're voting for Joe Biden to win a 2020 primary. But basically, that entire thing would have to be on basically name recognition, because what else does Joe Biden have? Joe Biden, in terms of the policies that he supports, or he hasn't even really came out in favor of any policies, but he's kind of hinted at a public option and things of that nature. But he's not in favor of Medicare for all, which polls at around 68 to 70% among the American public. He's not in favor of tuition-free public college, which polls at around 79% among Democrats and over 50% nationwide. So you have all of these policy ideas that are major for the progressives and major for the left that Joe Biden is nowhere near supporting. And has not said a word about ever even giving them a chance to support them at all right now. He hasn't said maybe even like a waffly Medicare for all support. Like, he hasn't even done a Kamala Harris one where he kind of backtracks later, but he does kind of say that he's hinting at it a little bit where he wants Medicare for all down the line somewhere. Nothing. He is basically just saying, yeah, public option. He even said the other day that he doesn't have time to roll out his healthcare plan. But he has spoken fondly of the public option, so I do want to make that clear. But he has nothing that you could say, well, he's the best policy-wise among what Democrats want. Because Bernie Sanders, according to the polling data of the policies that the Democrats support, even policies that are popular nationwide, across party lines, independents love a lot of his policies as well. Then Joe Biden, how is he the most electable over Bernie Sanders if Bernie Sanders is lockstep with the mainstream of the Democratic Party and basically the mainstream of the entire country? It doesn't add up in terms of the policy standpoint. So she's saying just forget about policy altogether. And she even gives credence to that point about being woke, or do you want to win? Which is such a stupid quote because, so just for context here, that woke or win part was mainly due to the Joe Biden allegations that have been coming out recently and the Anita Hill handling of the past. So that's mainly what she's addressing here, is more like his past issues that he's had in terms of women and sexual assault allegations. But at the same time, then you have the fact that still entailed with that, you're also saying, do you want to be woke on the policies that are better, or do you want to be just a winner? So she's basically, so in a weird way, I don't know if she necessarily even realizes that she's saying this, but it's like, the reason that you would win is by being woke on these issues. And that's how you would beat Donald Trump, is by being in lockstep with the mainstream of American society and with what the voters want, rather than just kind of being some centrist where your ideology is not actually that popular. And you're not going to galvanize voters in the Democratic Party or even outside of the Democratic Party if you come off with a Joe Biden type of stance on issues where you're basically just some centrist Democrat that's stood up for the credit card companies in the past, that stood up for the banks in the past, that's been against busing way back in the day. I mean, mishandling of the Anita Hill case. You have so many things there where he has made past mistakes. The crime bill. So you have all of that, and you're saying, well, he's the most electable, so we could put him up there. And if he's the most electable guy, then we just got to fall in line for Joe Biden, so that way we can just beat Donald Trump, forget about who's the best candidate on policies and who's the best candidate just overall. Let's just vote for the one that we know could beat Donald Trump, which means what she's saying is let's go to the one who's polling the best and who's the most popular, which is Joe Biden, due to name recognition. So Alyssa Milano, through all that, is basically just saying, you know what, Joe Biden's the most well-known. Let's vote him in, fall in line, forget about Bernie Sanders, forget about all these other candidates. Let's forget about Elizabeth Warren, and let's just all fall in line behind Joe Biden, because it's not about policy, it's about who's the most popular right now, and let's start supporting them. But it's just a terrible argument to actually say that, because the more that people shine a light on all of the things that Biden has done wrong or did badly over the years, or all of the mistakes that he's made, and the more that that's all brought to light to the mainstream public, the more his numbers are going to go down. So he's going to lose popularity. I can almost guarantee it, because he's doing so well off of a lot of name recognition right now. But the more that he's exposed, and the more that he's shown as not being even remotely progressive in any way, he's going to lose more of that support, and he's going to poll worse. And Bernie Sanders is going to continue to gain support, and I think he's going to continually poll better. The more that people continuously are exposed to his ideas and his policy platform. So would you rather actually so the best way to win, Alyssa Milano, is to have somebody that has a great policy platform, that doesn't have a ton of past mistakes and isn't corrupt, and doesn't have a ton of things where if you make that criticism of Donald Trump or the Republicans, that they can make a criticism about what you did in your past, or that you did something where there was allegations from women against you, even though obviously it's different from the allegations against Joe Biden to the allegations against Donald Trump. Let's be clear here. But at the same time, here we go again, where we're like, well, he has all these past mistakes and he has a checkered history and his policy platforms not the best, and it's not nearly the most progressive policy platform. But, well, he's our best chance at winning. But the best chance at winning, when you actually go through this entire process of debates and town halls and just being able to get your message out and advertise what your policies are and talk to the people even more and get more exposure and get that magnifying glass shown on your past to see how many mistakes you've made and whether you've been consistent with your stances over the years, Joe Biden's going to look way worse while that goes on, and Bernie Sanders is going to look way better. So her assessment of what makes the best candidate to go against Donald Trump is just completely off base, and it's completely based on name recognition and early polling data. So maybe she doesn't even realize that she's making all the establishment Democrat and mainstream media stupid, shallow arguments right for them to try and convince you to just throw your support behind Joe Biden and the establishment frontrunner. But she is making them either way, and she should be called out for it.